Good Monday morning, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to Real Talk here on the I Love CVille Network. Thank you kindly for joining us live in Charlottesville, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love CVille Network. Good morning to everybody watching the program on a glorious day to be alive here in Central Virginia. The Monday Market Monitor and Real Talk presented by Closure Title and Settlement Company, Ally Property Management, and Sigora Solar. And I'll give you a little first-hand perspective. Thanks to Keith Smith and Real Talk, I have transitioned one of my rentals at the villas at Southern Ridge to Suzanne Real.
Good job.
And Ally Property Management. Ladies and gentlemen, Suzanne Real, I'm going to give you a first-hand testimonial and make sure she knows this. This literally happened because of Real Talk. If I had not have gotten a chance to meet her, I would not have done this.
Well, that's kind of what we do here, right? We did this on Friday, right? This long format. We had Ned Galloway, Albemarle County Board of Supervisors, Neil Williamson on, and my God, if that wasn't our longest show, it was awfully close to our longest show that we did. And you get to get the stuff out. But when you bring in people like Suzanne and Ally, and you get to understand what they do for you, it's pretty awesome.
I'll put it in perspective for you here. I mentioned to her, look, I'm managing it myself. Margin's great. Headache now and then on things breaking down. I don't want to take a hit with your cut. She said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to raise the rental from $1,600 to $1,850. You're going to pay me my cut, and I'm going to take care of every iota of this property. And guess what?
You're going to make the same amount of money.
Came out slightly ahead.
Really?
Slightly ahead.
Wow, good for you.
Doing no work.
You know, we have one.
And we had a talk, and everything worked out.
We had a talk, and everything worked out. Okay. So you had a talk to the guy, you know it?
Had a talk with Suzanne.
Oh, got it.
Before I had a talk with the guy.
Got it.
Yeah, and everything worked out.
So the talk that we had translated into success. People have no idea what we're talking about.
But you do.
I do.
Yeah,
I do,
and that's the chemistry right there. Anyway, the props is for Ally Property Management.
Absolutely. You know, I have one, and we're working on some more, but I have one, and that one rental, I completely forgot about it. You know, that's how efficient she is. That's how efficient it is. Everything gets taken care of, and you know, it's wonderful on that stuff. I was just thinking, you know, I'm looking over your shoulder at the I Love Charlottesville logo, and today is Valentine's Day, right?
It is.
So what did you get your Valentine today, or should we talk about that on the air?
Oh, we can talk about it on air. So we have well, I mean, I don't want to spoil the surprise that's coming.
Got it.
I'm coming home with it.
Hit the brake.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But she's going to be very happy. She actually has a very good idea of what it's going to be. It's what she's wanted. My wife is pursuing a path of green thumb.
Oh.
Where she would like to start growing vegetables in her personal garden that she could utilize in recipes herself.
Got it.
I believe it's tomatoes and peppers she would like to start with.
Ooh.
And there's this thing, and I mean, I don't know.
So you got her a garden.
I'm not sure if she's watching it. Are you familiar with these raised gardens?
Yeah, sure. I've got 2 of them, 3 of them in my yard.
So it's like almost on stilts.
Don't get yourself into trouble.
I don't think she's watching right now.
Got it.
But it's the one that is on stilts.
Yeah. Good for you.
Yeah, and then the fixins for that, if you may.
There you go, and then so you can make some more Italian heroes. We'll get Joe it's all about food. Joe will bring down more bread, you'll have more stuff, and then you can put your stuff on it.
What's in your garden?
Mrs. Smith runs the garden.
Okay.
It's mostly flowers, actually. We don't have they're wildflowers. We just don't have, you know, as my father would say, a garden requires a gardener. And, you know, we have a very simple wildflower gardens, and that's something that it takes care of itself. It reseeds itself on that end of it. Do a couple of roses on that stuff.
Okay, very nice. One thing I wanted to bring up with you is, what do you make of, you know, we can utilize ours for example if you'd like. What do you make of 3-bedroom, 2 baths in condo complexes in the urban ring, renting for $1,850 a month to $2,000 a month.
Yeah, I think thousands of light on the light side.
1850
Yeah,
to
1850
2K.
to 2K. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's where the market is. You know, it's it's you know, the shortage on for sale and rental is the same as far as the inventory, and it's putting so much pressure on inventory and on rates. I'll tell you, I was talking over the weekend with a client that is looking for a short-term rental in Lake Monticello, right? And as those who watch know, I've been there since '87, or listen, I've been there since '87. I mean, you're looking at homes out there trading in north of those numbers, $16,000, $18,000, $2,000 a month for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home. And you know, I remember when we first moved there, we were renting a house, and I think we were paying $200-300 a month for the same thing. Now that was 35 years ago; it was quite some time. But you know, it's you know, everything is increasing. You know, it's interesting. Like I was talking about, I ran the numbers just in Charlottesville. So 2018, there was the first 45 days of this year versus the first 45 days in 2018, we had roughly the same number of homes trade, about 41 versus 45, but we jumped up from 304K in 2008 to 365 this last 45 days. Interesting, exactly the same amount of days on market, which was 11. So we've seen this 11 days on market, but rentals, you know, are the same. They have the same impact, and you know, we need more inventory. And how, you know, it's funny. I was talking to Yona on the way in this morning. You know, I love our little story, Yona and I's story, and she goes, "Well, nobody wants to hear this anymore." I kind of feel this way about inventory. We've been talking about it so much that I just don't. You know, the solutions are, I think, clear. I just don't know if we're ever going to get there. Does that make sense? So
yeah,
I just don't, you know, it's like, I just don't know our crystal balls that we have in front of us. I just don't know what we can wave over that to go ahead and fix this inventory shortage. But the reason I ran those numbers, like I said earlier, 2018 to 2019, according to CAR, we were somewhere between 4 and 5%. That was the last spike we had on 30-year mortgages at 4 or 5%. We got to go back to 2011 to hit that 5% number again on that end of it. So I just wanted to kind of point out we were still selling roughly the same amount of homes, just at a much higher price.
Well, and the thing that makes me a little nervous about this is the University of Virginia has indicated they're going to bring in more students than ever. And they need somewhere they got to live.
Are they really going to bring over 26,000? Is that what? I didn't read that article.
The admissions for this fall will be the highest total admitted in University of Virginia history.
And that will be, what, 26,000, 27,000?
Let me do a quick Google search. I know it's the highest total in UVA history.
Got it. So, yeah, you're 100% right. So we've had this conversation numerous times, right? Do we bring second years on campus or not? Ultimately, what happens, I think, is you'll have it'll be like a sucking thing, right? The second years will move on to campus, and everybody that's from further out will move in. Excuse me, folks, moving in. I think what UVA is trying to do with this 1,000 to 1,500 affordable housing units may be helpful in the market, but as Ned was saying and Neil was saying on Friday, we just got to figure out a way to increase this inventory.
There was 51,000 total applicants for the class of 2026. So this incoming first years. That's a 6% increase over last year. 31,000 of those 51K applied early action. So a couple of takes from this. It's never been more competitive to get into the University of Virginia than it is right now.
I would agree with that. It's also never been more expensive either.
Never been more expensive, never been more competitive. Mm-hmm. 51,000 total applications for the class of 2026. That's a 6% uptick over the class of 2025. The class of 2025, 47,827,000 applicants. UVA in early February offered 6,243 students early admission to the class of 2026.
So what concerns me about all those numbers, and we folks, this is Batman and Robin show, so we're just having fun here and having a conversation. You know what concerns me about that is the number that I really want to take a look at is how many of these kids are graduating with a 4-year degree or getting jobs, right? There seems to be the trend that they're getting these degrees or advanced degrees, and either they're not getting the jobs or they're not getting paid. Right? My daughter's a prime example, right? She's a teacher, God love her, and is passionate about it, but she has a master's degree on that end of it. Now she's out in Seattle. Let's put it in perspective. The cost of living there is insanely high. But if she was back here, she was making 30, 40 grand a year with a master's degree. And the reason I bring this up is some of the things we probably need to be talking about, again, on this inventory thing and in the real estate side of things. We're not really producing the trades folks to go ahead and do that. A decent, plumber or carpenter or electrician that is, licensed and ready to do this is making way over that amount of money, but we're not generating enough work. We're not generating enough education for them, and where is that? And at some point, I'd love to do a show about that to bring in the folks from Piedmont Community, Ridge Schuyler and Frank. I can't remember Frank's last name. I'll mispronounce it, so I don't want to do that. Where are they at?
Squillace.
Yeah, it's not Smith or Miller, right? But, and it's got more syllables in it than I could possibly pronounce.
And there's a Q.
There's a Q in there. Yeah. Actually, I have no idea where that
What's
came.
the letter that always comes after Q?
U?
U. There you go.
I guess. Look at Smith.
Very well done. It's the U.
I thought this was this I before E, except if it's a C thing. Other than Keith. It doesn't work out that way in Keith.
It doesn't work. It
doesn't work out that way. So look, I was driving on. I'm going to change gears on you a little bit, right? Let's play a little game.
Please.
So we've been doing this show for almost 260, 70 shows. I didn't count this morning. Almost 3 years, right? Coming, I think March or April will be our beginning of our the end of our third year. Beginning of our fourth year. Does that sound right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
what's up, Aaron King?
So tell me something about yourself that I don't already know, and then I'll tell you something about myself.
Oh, dude, we spend 4 days a week a talk show setting.
Something that I don't know or the viewers don't know.
About myself?
About yourself.
I'm very open. I'm an open book when it comes to myself on this show. Did you know I met my wife on an airplane?
That I knew.
Okay. Judah was there.
Judah, that I didn't know.
Yeah.
Judah, you were in the plane when that happened?
Yeah. We had as we were building this business, when you're building a business, you're hustling business from everywhere, right?
Sure, I know.
As you know.
I was putting on roofs, I was framing, I was
doing whatever it takes.
Whatever we could do.
So whatever it took for us as we were building this business. And the crazy thing is this business celebrates its 14-year anniversary in May of this year, end of May.
Get your little clock machine, man.
End of May, thank you. Yeah, I'll do that, thank you.
Good for you, man.
Thank you very much. End of May is 14 years of getting out of bed and figuring out a way to, pay the bills. But as we're growing the business, I was having to chase business. And that chase led us to New Jersey. And for, how long, Judah? 3 years, probably?
When I first started, you were doing going up to Jersey.
Were you?
Absolutely, I remember that.
It must have been at the tail end. So 3-4 years of doing this. Me, him a lot of times. We were spending a week in New Providence, New Jersey, servicing a handful of clients in the Jersey area, including the Autism Institute of New Jersey.
Oh.
So word got out from from happy clients in here about what we're able to do, and they referred us to clients in New Jersey. Oftentimes you're like, hey, thank you for that referral. We're very appreciative, but you guys are 700 miles away from us. But when you're growing a business and you're trying to expand, you take it. So I was literally on a Monday morning hopping a plane out of Charlottesville Airport at like 4:45 in the morning, getting up there, flying into God knows LaGuardia or Newark,
Yeah.
renting a car, sprinting to our client, grinding 60, probably 75 hours in 4 days, and then Friday at 3:30, hopping a plane from Newark or LaGuardia back to Cho to see the family. And one of those trips, my wife was flying from New York. She worked for Blackstone, a hedge fund, to Charlottesville to spend a long weekend with one of her best friends. Her name was Kristen. And as soon as they were going to land in Charlottesville, they were going to go vineyard hopping, because when you have a long weekend, you have limited time. So you maximize as much time as possible. So she's dressed to the nines. I'm dressed like a drag because I literally had just finished working 70 hours that week.
Just rolled out of bed.
Literally, I'm like in cargo shorts and a tank top and sandals, and I have like a carry-on for 4 days of work and hadn't slept because the clients are just working us to the end of the candle.
Sure.
And I see her there, and I'm like, who's this beautiful lady? Who's this lady here? Didn't have the confidence to talk to her in the terminal, but she was on the plane with me
How close
day.
to you?
I moved seats. I was in the back of the airplane. Her seat next to her was completely empty. I shifted from sitting next to him and another team member, Maggie. Remember Maggie was with us that day? And walked across the aisle, down the aisle, and sat next to her. And for, how long was that trip, Judah? From Newark to Charlottesville, like 2 hours?
No.
90 minutes?
It's an hour at the most. It's a 60, it's no much more than 60 minutes.
Yeah, so like an hour and change. I'm like,
Yeah.
she's got to talk to me.
No. There's these little buttons up there that called it, what are they? Flight attendants.
Yeah.
Right? Flight attendants. Hey, this dude's bothering me.
We're on an airplane.
There was a button that she could have called, There are potential air marshals that she could have done.
That was
something.
July 10th, 7 years ago, July 10th. By August 29th of that same year, she quit her job and moved in with me.
So
Did you know that story?
I knew bits and pieces of it.
Yeah.
I did not know Judah was there. And
Judah was there?
And how long was the length of time before she?
July 10th to August 29th. And there was one trial weekend in between where we're like, all right, let's see if we can make this work for a long weekend where she wasn't going to see her friend.
Well, I think you actually win. So that's less than 3 months, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah. July 10th to August 29th. She quit a hedge fund six-figure job to come down here.
We are very similar people on many levels. So mine was very similar. I met Yona 3 months before I left, right? Left from overseas, and somehow or another convinced that young lady to 36 years there. Well, my God, at that point, 37 years ago, to go ahead within 3 months to go ahead and leave her job. Much like your wife, she was on the track to become an ambassador for her country, and literally left that for a guy that had no money, had no job. I just was coming out of the Marine Corps, but I did look good in my uniform and back in those days. So something about me that I don't think you know.
Please.
And I'll give you some hints and maybe you can guess it.
Okay.
So it's today, it's the number one thing that is given to your sweetheart. And I worked in that industry for 3 years.
You were a chocolatier?
No, that's a great one though.
Roses?
I was a florist.
You were a florist?
I worked from
family business?
I worked from 10th, 11th, and 12th grade in a florist, actually in Levittown, Long Island. We were out of Brooklyn at that point. Was wrapping up my high school years on Long Island in Levittown, and I worked in a florist for 3 years.
What'd you do? You didn't? Did you put together the bouquets?
I put together bouquets.
You put together the bouquets?
Yeah, I put together bouquets.
What did Pop say when his oldest son was working at the florist shop?
So,
because I've had a chance to get to know Pop from time to time.
Yeah,
he speaks his mind.
He does, right? So let me tell the story a different way, and I'll try to do this without getting myself into trouble and kicked off the network.
Please,
on the same thing. So if you had an opportunity to work at McDonald's or work as a florist at the age of whatever 10th, 11th, and 12th is, what are you usually trying to do at the age of 10, 11, and 12? What's your number one focus?
You're girls. Yeah, girls.
What is girls like?
They like flowers, so that's why you did it. Okay, there you go.
And my father patted me on my back and says, "Nice job, son." It's the way I graduated high school, too. Did I ever tell you that story?
No, please.
I literally, so you've got to put it in perspective. This is the end of the 70s,
okay.
Right? There was no money. The cities had no money. The states had no money. High school, my high school class went in 10th grade it's 9th grade, from 9th to 10th grade, from 20 to 30 kids to 60 to 80. I literally did not go to school my last 2 years of high school. Physically, never went in the building. I went to work. I was making money, right? I went into the building, and back in those days, in order for the school systems to get the state money, it was all about the number of diplomas that went out the door. There was no SAT, not SAT test. There was no whatever.
SOLs.
SOLs. Thank you. Standards of learning. It just was what went out. And so there was, so what was commonplace is the teachers would just sign stuff, and we would go out and we would get a diploma, and that was it on that end of it. But this English teacher would not do that. She was young, right out of college, I guess, or something like that. And she wanted me to write a paper on Chaucer.
Oh, gosh. You wrote a paper on Chaucer?
I did not write a paper
okay,
on Chaucer.
I was going to say, what happened with that?
You've received emails from me. You know I can't write.
You speak to text.
Yes, and that does not understand Yankee, but I showed up with 24 yellow roses. And she said, literally, she signed it, exact words, she signed it, she says, "Get the hell out of here, you're going to do good in life, kid," and just handed me the thing.
Smart.
Showed up with 24 roses, graduated high school. That's how I graduated high school.
What you learned from that job as a florist? But you learned a lot.
I learned, it's funny, I love my wife with all my heart and soul. She's my better 7/8. Would not know what to do without. Every single moment of the day, I honor this woman, right? I really do. But I don't buy flowers. I don't buy stuff when I'm supposed to buy it, right? Today, I hugged her. I told her I loved her, and we went on our day. But there's always roses. I always have roses. Always had for 35 years. There's always roses. Anytime you come up to my house and visit my house, I always have roses in my house. Cut flowers, I will always bring that down. And the girls, if they're watching, will echo that. I always made sure we had some sort of, and I would just bring stuff home, "Honey, I love you," and I would set that up on that end of it. But I don't, because I'm supposed to buy chocolates and roses today.
You don't do it. Why? Because you don't like the forced element of the holiday?
I don't, yeah.
The commercialization of love, if you may?
That may be the answer, but if I don't tell my wife I love her every day, and couldn't succeed without her every day, telling her one day isn't going to make a difference, right? It's every day. That's how you meet somebody for 3 months and you stay married for 36 years. Every day we tell each other. Every day we tell each other we love each other, and we mean it. We go to bed saying that, and never, ever, ever go to bed angry with one another. If there's an issue, it needs to get resolved before everybody goes to sleep.
Nick Herpes says, love story time with Batman and Robin.
Story time.
Aaron King.
Going to see them tomorrow.
The Herpes is going to be on Real Talk.
Mm-hmm.
We love the Herpes, the stars of today, Mananas, and the principals of Emergent Financial Services. Emergent Financial Services is A++ from an honesty, talent, and credibility standpoint. Erin King, Western Albemarle's finest graduate, is watching.
Ooh.
She works for Feast. Feast just celebrated, Erin, if memory serves correct, its 20-year anniversary. I will check my email on that fabulous press release you sent me, Erin King. And if you need somebody to grow a business, Erin King is A+ when it comes to that. Gwendolyn is watching. Are you in Holland?
I believe
Gwendolyn?
she's still in Holland, yes.
In Holland. She says these are such beautiful stories. Thank you, Gwendolyn, for watching the program.
She
We
is.
should welcome you, Gwendolyn, on those emails that you sent on housing to Real Talk.
Yes. I have to dig
20
in.
years yesterday, Erin King. Thank you for Feast. Erin, you are A+.
20 years, wow.
Anytime you guys want to celebrate that endeavor, we are happy to host EK. You know we are.
20 years, man.
20 years for Feast in the Purple Building.
Unbelievable. That's Purple Building's been there for 20 years.
Has it been 20 years that entire time, EK, in the Purple Building on West Main?
It just feels like that has not been there for 20 years. But you know what? I've been here for 35, and maybe it is. The years start blending.
She'll let us know. She's fabulous. I've seen her run a number of businesses and run some restaurants and really contribute to Feast's success in the Purple Building. She says she's going to be Gwendolyn in Holland until March 15th.
Cool.
Then we should welcome you. Keith's call. He's the executive producer to Real Talk to talk some of these housing initiatives that she has.
Absolutely. It'll probably be a little bit later in the month because based on commitments. But I'll connect with Gwendolyn, and I sat down had a lovely chat with her a few months ago.
Erin says same location, Purple Building for Feast.
That's been there for 20 years.
That's amazing.
Holy schmoly.
I mean, and it just speaks to, and obviously, guys, we're reflecting. We're sentimentalists today on Valentine's Day, and that was intentional. But we love to celebrate. We love to celebrate the brands and businesses and people we love. We started with our wonderful better halves, but where in a place like Charlottesville, except for a place like Charlottesville, can a high-end grocery, deli, takeout counter,
make it,
gourmet store make it?
Oh, without doubt.
Charlotte just speaks to how amazing this community is. And not only make it, but Feast is crushing it.
They crush it.
They crush it.
It's Yona and I sneak in and sneak out of there all the time because, time is, what we are, but we pop in and we pop out. Then we zip on over and pick a little Albemarle bread out, which I did not want to.
Albemarle Baking Company.
I did not want to say this in front of Joe Gentile because I didn't want him to hurt me. But I have to tell you, it's the bread out over there is freaking awesome.
Albemarle Baking Company is the real deal.
And it's funny, changed gears on a little bit. So we went over to Mom and Pop's house we watched the first half of the football game. That's why I made the heroes, and we shared it with all that stuff. And we literally got into a debate over Bodo's bagels versus the ones from back home. And we're pretty hardcore New Yorkers, my family and I. And I got to tell you, Bodo's, Joe's not going to like this, but I think they're better, frankly. I really do. If I had to make a choice over that, I'd probably pick a Bodo's bagel.
So what he's referencing is Joseph Gentile last week on this very program. He's from, is it from Queens?
From Long Island, right by the Queens border.
Right by Queens. He brought us
bread, bagels.
But bread in how would you describe those bags?
So they're these
airtight, obviously. But
yeah, my son-in-law does this stuff.
Vacuum sealed.
They vacuum seal it.
He vacuum sealed bread from his favorite deli in Queens. Brought them down to us. Bakery. Thank you, in Queens. Brought them down to us less than 24 hours after they were made.
That's exactly right.
In vacuum sealed bags, bread and bagels. Joseph Gentile, hello, welcome to the show.
And there you go, Joe.
Hello.
There you go,
And welcome to the program. We love you, Joseph Gentile. And he just showed us his generous side.
Absolutely.
We thoroughly enjoyed them, my wife and I, his family. Judah made flatbread, Italian bread pizzas.
So if Joe is watching,
Or Italian bread pizzas.
Yeah.
Italian bread pizzas. But what we're emphasizing is for a town. You would still describe would you describe Charlottesville as a town? There's less than 50,000 people.
That is a great question.
How would you describe Charlottesville?
Well, technically it's a city because of the definition of it. I think from a feel of it, it feels more like a town, right? Less than a city. And that, I don't know what the formal definition is between one and the other. But, in reality,
what's the exact population you think of Charlottesville?
I don't think it's over 50.
It's definitely not over 50.
So somewhere between 47, 48.
Very good guess.
Somewhere in that
2020 population for the city of Charlottesville, 46,553.
Yeah. But in reality, and we talk about this all the time, in reality, you have to include the remaining 5 jurisdictions that surround it, right?
Sure.
Albemarle. So I think when you take a look at that in total, we're somewhere in the 250 to 300,000 range, plus or minus, on that end of it. So when you kind of take that as a whole, you're kind of a city. But Yona and I don't know what was going on this weekend. You might know it was a basketball game for sure. But we stopped by Bodo's. I'm sorry, Joe. We stopped by Bodo's on Saturday after Yona's training to pick up our egg bagel and bacon bagel on that end of it. And all I saw was Texas plates. I mean, so maybe there was students visiting or parent weekend.
Yeah. Did you go to the Preston or the corner?
I always go to the corner.
You go to the corner one?
I love going to the corner.
Where do you park when you go to the corner?
That's the fun of it.
You play parking musical chairs.
I brush off the New York, the city kid on me, and that's the fun part.
Do a little illegal parking if you have to.
I do not do illegal parking. A lot.
Okay.
But yeah, so I prefer to go to the one on the corner over Preston, personally. Always did.
I go Preston.
Drives my wife nuts.
Well, she says, why? She's basically like, why don't we just go to the Preston one instead of the corner one? That's what she says.
And the reason I go there is I love being around the kids. I love being around the students and stuff like that. It's just a lot of fun to be around the students and intermingle. That's a beautiful, so normal, what we did was a beautiful day. We parked the car, we grabbed a couple of sandwiches, and we walked across, saw to the grounds, and we sat down on the grounds and our bench or wherever it was, and we had breakfast at whatever it was, 9:30 in the morning. It was a lot of fun.
Gwendolyn watching in Holland. The technical definition, a city can provide local government services to its citizens.
That's exactly
And many places in the United States, a town, village, community, or neighborhood is simply an unincorporated community with no governmental powers.
Stop it.
County governments typically provide services to these unincorporated communities, whereas a city can provide local government services to its citizens. So that's excellent. She just made us better right there. That tells you why Charlottesville is a city versus a town. A town is not providing governmental services. Dan Pettit is watching from the beach in South Carolina, Litchfield Beach. Tennis today. It's in the 60s this week. Hopefully you're playing one of your racket sports today, Jerry. I plan to later. Thank you for that. We're waxing nostalgic and sentimental on the love we feel not only for our better halves and our families, but the families and community members and brands that we love and appreciate in this community.
Absolutely.
We opened with Feast, 20 years in the Purple Building, a gourmet grocery.
Yep.
I mean, I would imagine, Aaron, and I don't want to speak for the owners, but when you launch a business 2 decades ago and say, we're going to open up a gourmet grocery and deli on West Main.
In an old gas station.
In an area of Charlottesville that was very much gentrifying.
Yeah, of course. Because
I was gentrifying then.
So 20 years ago puts us at what year, Mr. Miller? You can figure this
2002.
out. 2002.
So I'm in college at UVA.
I'm sorry, did I laugh out loud?
You are building houses.
I was,
in 2002.
I was, yeah. Very much so, yeah.
Okay, because I remember at that time, the downtown mall and the UVA corner, West Main, which we've dubbed Midtown, was
students didn't go there.
Students go there. We were told never to go past, at the time, Orbitz.
Correct.
Which is now Boylan Heights.
Which where my brother-in-law worked at.
Which is where I met your brother-in-law. There's so many degrees of separation here, like 2 degrees.
I don't even think that much.
Like 1.5.
One and a half. It's funny though. It's as you're speaking and we're thinking about, we're sitting in the I Love Charlottesville studios and we're on Valentine's Day and we're talking about the loves in our lives. But we also love this area. We love this town. We love this region, right? It's just not Charlottesville. It's Albemarle. It's Nelson. It's Greene. It's Havana. It's Louisa on these different counties. And everybody kind of has their own little flair and stuff. But, this region, it's why I saw nothing but out-of-state cars, plates this weekend. We have a lot to offer. And we've really grown. Now, it's a double-edged sword, right? I have lunch tomorrow with Michael Payne to talk a little bit about affordable housing and what I can do to help and have a conversation about that. So, it's a two-edged sword, right? You have all these wonderful things, right? 2 weeks ago, my wife and I on a Saturday were in the opera, right?
At the Paramount.
At the Paramount, watching the Met Live in Manhattan, HD over, excellent production of Rigoletto.
Tickets to purchase there?
$25.
$25 a head.
Balcony.
Okay.
First row back.
Did you use Nicholas Erpy's the gift that he gave you?
I did, but I had to close one eye.
Nicholas Erpy, friend of the program, one of the co-stars of Today y Mañana, gave Keith Smith as a gift.
For birthday.
What's the exact description of those?
Well,
opera binoculars?
Well,
is that what they are?
Yeah,
I'm not as refined as you are, Keith, or Nicholas, certainly. Nicholas is more refined than both of us. What is the name of the gift, Nicholas Erpy?
They're called opera glasses.
Opera glasses, okay.
Yeah. And there were antiques. And the left one the glass was a little cloudy. So.
He says, I'll find you a better pair. Have no fear. And they're opera glasses over here. And people are asking for more stories of Charlottesville, please.
Yeah.
Multiple people.
Let's kind of talk a little bit about things that have changed. We talked about Feast in 20 years, right? Prior to that, it was a whole gas station kind of set up over there, which the restaurant's changed a couple of times.
It used to be so
little something is it called now?
Okay, so you're talking about the gas station. It's called Little Star.
Little Star, right across from the Quirk.
Before, dude, it's a funny story. The first date that I ever had in Charlottesville as a student at UVA, I took the lady I was seeing, the girl I was seeing, to Fuel.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It was Fuel.
That's right. Yeah.
Where Little Star is now.
It was Fuel.
We sat outside, and oh my gosh, before Fuel, after Fuel was help us out, Aaron King, help us out here.
It went through several different.
Dude, I should also know what one of the iterations were, because that was the location of my first day with my wife.
There you go.
I'm texting her right now. What was the name of the restaurant we went to on our first date?
I remember it too. I can visualize it. I can do that. But look, we
guys, tell us the iterations of those restaurants where Fuel was. Aaron would really know this. It was Fuel, something else. Zinc. Zinc was one of them.
That was it. I think Zinc was after. No.
It went Fuel.
Something else.
Three Penny Cafe.
Oh, geez, you're good.
That's where our date was.
So
Three Penny Cafe. She's watching right now.
I think it's
Three Penny Cafe in the hand over the head emoji. Three Penny Cafe. Zinc.
Lauren, happy Valentine's Day to you.
She says thank you.
Yeah, happy Valentine's Day. I don't know how you put up with this man, but happy Valentine's Day.
She said that this morning.
Oh no.
No.
Say that.
No.
Don't do that.
No, she didn't say that.
Don't do that. She said, "Don't come home." I mean, yeah. So, but it's funny that we. So I remember in '87. I'm just thinking where one could have eaten in 1987, 87, 88, when we first moved here, and there really wasn't that many choices on the downtown mall at that point. It was the hardware store was a big one.
Yeah.
Now keep in mind
it's C&O.
C&O, which 87, 88, we just had our first daughter was only a couple years old.
In fact, let me go to the CNO website, because I think CNO...
Oh, a story about CNO. Do you know, it has a Smith family connection to that.
Well, Sandy McAdams was the original owner of CNO. And then Sandy McAdams sold the CNO to the late, great Dave Simpson. And Dave Simpson passed the torch of CNO to the current owner, Chef Dean Maupin. CNO brought the elevated dining as we know it to downtown Charlottesville.
But the bar is awesome downstairs.
Oh, we love the bar.
I can't wait until the planning district.
Wood burning fireplace there.
Well, there's two of them.
Well, downstairs there's one, right?
And there's one upstairs that Yona built.
Yona built it.
Yona built. There's a Tuli Kivi from Finland, a soapstone fireplace. Yona used to run the U.S. and Canadian operations back in the early 90s for a Finnish company that was operating out of Schuyler, Virginia. And they were fabricating these soapstone fireplaces, basically like a wood stove kind of setup on it. So when you walk in the main lobby, right in front of you, there's this soapstone stove. She literally built that with her own hands.
James Watson watching the program.
Hey, James.
His brother-in-law, I met James Watson when I was rocking a fake New Jersey ID to sneak into Orbitz when he was the barkeep, James Watson, and we bonded over cold beer and UVA sports. So crazy that I met your brother-in-law while at school, thanks to a fake New Jersey ID that we created in Dabney 101 of old dorms with a laminator and some glossy paper and some fluorescent paint we bought online.
And he's my
True story.
And my brother-in-law.
He says this. There was no Mas Tapas
Nope.
or the local restaurant
Nope.
20 years ago.
Nope.
There were only 2 breweries and maybe 3 vineyards
Yep.
20 years ago.
Well, and I remember the vineyards, and they, with all due respect, the wines 30 years ago were not what they are today, and that's kind of how this happens over time. But it was Jefferson Vineyards was really the only real vineyard 30 plus years ago in the area. I think where the Barbersville was the other. That was pretty much the 2 vineyards at that particular time. And just talk about that process, what has happened in over 30 some odd years, that we've really become the
East Coast epicenter.
Absolutely of that epicenter, second in wedding location. But to go back to James, I can't remember, how did you actually meet my sister?
How did you, James Watson, meet Keith's youngest sister?
And I'll probably bet it was at a bar.
That's how a lot of people met.
Yeah. So I can't remember how he actually met Megan.
So a lot of comments coming in right now as we show our love for this community in Charlottesville on this fantastic Valentine's Day.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, and please continue to contribute, guys. Johnny Ornalis, who owns El Mariachi in Guadalajara, JPA. My wife and I, our first date was Buffalo Wild Wings in Barracks Road Shopping Center.
Wow.
Ha 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 ha, he says. Johnny Ornalis, I would imagine you were an incredibly charming guy that chatted up your beautiful wife over some cold dress.
Stopped. That guy is smooth as all can be.
Johnny is A+ people.
Absolutely.
Johnny Ornalis
Absolutely.
understands the concept of hospitality. How did you break the ice, Johnny Ornalis, with your beautiful wife, who is a teacher in our community now? I'm curious to hear that love story.
It's funny as I'm thinking of these gentlemen and their significant others. Seems like everybody's either married up or, without a doubt, married up all the way across the board.
Outkicked our coverage.
That's the word. Yeah.
Outkicked our coverage.
A Super Bowl reference.
Neil Williamson watching the show, and he has a link to the Monticello Wine Trail. I love the photo you posted, Sir Neil Williamson, on your Facebook page 10 years ago when you were at Well Hung Vineyards. He's one of the co-owners, as we know, of Well Hung Vineyards. And he looked very dapper in front of that photo on his Facebook page. Everyone should go check that out.
And what happened?
James Watson, also, Johnny Ornalis, you're going to love this. So James Watson met his wife, which is his youngest sister, Keith's youngest sister. This is the amazing thing about social media.
I love
what's
this.
happening.
I'm just sitting here listening.
So James Watson on one of our Facebook pages says, I met Keith's younger sister, my wife, James Watson's wife, in 1998 at Wild Wings in Barracks Road. That's where he met his wife. So both Johnny Ornalis met his wife at Wild Wings in Barracks Road, and James Watson met his wife at Wild Wings in Barracks Road in 1998. At that time, the Wild Wings in Barracks Road, Buffalo Wild Wings, had a bunch of pool tables in the back.
Yep.
Okay? It was not only a sports bar, but on Friday and Saturday nights, Buffalo Wild Wings in Barracks Road, I remember because I was sneaking in with the New Jersey ID, Buffalo Wild Wings in Barracks Road turned into almost like a club. I mean, I hate to use the word club, but they'd have DJs, and it just turned into this epicenter of dancing around the pool tables. Did they not, James and Johnny, move the pool tables so people had room to dance? That's what I remember.
So where are people? So Wild Wings is not there anymore.
Wild Wings is north of town now.
It's north.
29 North.
Yeah, but it's not.
It's not in Barracks Road anymore.
Not in Barracks Road anymore. And I'm just wondering where where do kids meet nowadays? I can't believe I just said that.
I think they meet on Tinder. on Tinder. If you haven't seen the Tinder Swindler on Netflix, watch that documentary.
I literally can't believe I just said that. So where do kids meet today?
They meet on Tinder, on Bumble, on Tinder, online.
I don't know, man. I'll tell you what. I am super lucky. I'm on the 80-year marriage plan with Mrs. Smith. But I honestly mean this. I would not know what to do if I didn't have.
Okay.
No, I would. You
would, dude. You're a winner. Now, obviously, you outkicked your coverage. Yona's a superstar, rock star. Yeah. We love Yona.
Yeah.
But if you were in the game today, you would have no problem meeting somebody.
Yeah. No, I don't. I don't think I'd have the energy for that.
Nicholas Erpy met his fiancée at St. Thomas Aquinas Church, and he asked her out via Catholic Match online.
Good for you, man.
Yeah, I love it, Nicholas Erpy.
At church.
So did you know that there was a Match.com that was Catholic in motif? Catholic Match?
Look, I suspect there's a Match.com for everything.
Well, there's a farmer's one. What's the farmer's one?
Farmers Only.
Farmers Only.
How could you not watch those commercials?
Yeah, that's the one. It's Farmers Only.
Yeah, God bless you all. I just don't know how you would do that in today's world.
Well, I think it's done more online now.
Yeah, I don't know. I know for me, I found a lovely lady.
You just had to go to was it a communist country at the time?
I went to a communist country.
Yeah, a communist country.
I went behind the Iron Curtain for half a decade to find my wife.
There you go. Yeah. And the rest is history.
I can't overstate this. That after 3 months, this lady left everything. Left a track to be an ambassador, left her family, left her country, and came to another country with a guy that didn't have a job. I had no money. And oh, by the way, getting married and getting ready to have our first child, that's a huge leap of faith. And there isn't a single day that goes by that I don't thank her for that.
That's amazing.
This huge leap. I am selling that one every day, 365 days a year for the next 50 years coming down the road.
Neil Williamson says a new shirt for Smith. The graphic on the front of the shirt is "Old Guys Rule." It took decades to look this good. Sir Neil Williamson.
Neil, thank you very much.
I love Neil Williamson so much.
I had a ton of fun on Friday.
Ton
of fun.
Lauren says this. She said, Neil, exact words about Friday's show. Neil always knows his stuff and always informs me whenever he's on. She goes, whoever that other guy was really knows his stuff too, and you should have him back on. So, well, that other guy is Board of Supervisors of Albemarle County. His name
used to be the chairman.
Used to be the chairman. His name is Ned Galloway. But she goes, he really knows his stuff. That other guy.
You know, on shows like that, it makes what you and I do so easy.
Oh, we sat back and listened.
Yeah, and
That's what she said. You and Keith sat back and listened.
And actually, when I got back to the office, Emily said, "You okay?" Emily is my.
You weren't talking as much.
It's just literally.
That's literally what she said to me.
That's what Emily said. She says, "You okay?" I said, "What do you mean?" She says, "You didn't say much." I said,
That's literally what my
I
wife
didn't
said.
need to.
That's what I said.
Yep, didn't need to. We just got out of the way, but to pump up Neil a little bit. And what's interesting, the way that went, it was done in a way that both respected each other, even though they had different opinions on the issue. And what this show does so well, and this network does so well, right? Talk about what wasn't around 20 years ago. Talk about what wasn't here 35 years ago. You know, that opportunity to have an hour and 45-minute conversation, long-form conversation, is just super useful for everybody. So if you
Dude, he left the show saying, I encourage anyone in a position of leadership to come on Real Talk.
Yeah, but I paid him to say that.
You did not pay him to say that.
Totally
Scott Morris, welcome to the program.
Hey, Scott.
Ross Mortgage guys, Scotty Morris, A+ people.
Scotty,
Morris.
how did you meet your wife?
Oh, Scotty Morris, yeah. I would love to hear how you met your wife. Put it in the comments section. Our buddy James Watson met his better half, Keith's youngest sister, as you know, at Buffalo Wild Wings, formerly Barracks Road. Johnny Ornalis met his better half at Buffalo Wild Wings, formerly Barracks Road.
Let's get some young ladies' perspectives, right? So
Gwendolyn in Holland says it's a full-time job dating these days. She says,
I can only imagine.
Full-time job. Aaron, how did you meet the fabulous Rick?
There you go.
How did you meet the fabulous Rick? I'm curious of that story. It was in a restaurant. Dude, I would bet, Aaron, I'm not jumping to conclusions, so I'm asking you, Western Albemarle's finest graduate, Aaron King, did you meet Rick at West Main, the old All for Arthur's, the now Tavern and Grocery? I believe you did, Aaron King.
Wow. Do you remember Awful's Authors?
I got a crazy story about All for Arthur's.
You know what? I actually believe that.
I got head-butted out in the back parking lot of Arthur's.
So what did you say to deserve that?
The guy was out of his mind hammered.
Uh-huh.
And it was about over a parking space. And then my buddy, who a fraternity brother of my time, this is when West Main was a little, how would you describe West Main at one time? A little
different.
It was different. Okay, different. It was different. It was different. My buddy at the time, who I was with,
headbutted you.
For some reason he had one of those sticks that the police officers have that you can sling out and they turn into a baton, but they're really small and it's like a black metal stick. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Let's call it baton.
And you sling it out.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm talking about?
Uh-huh.
He chased that guy down with one of those sticks.
There you go.
Literally chased it. That's a true story.
Yeah, wow.
Awful Arthur. Aaron King met Rick at West Main. But I work with his roommates as well. But yes, I do say we met at West Main. I knew it, Aaron King.
There you go. You're on the restaurant track.
I love Aaron King. Now this is important to emphasize.
But they work together though, right?
She says, I did, but I work with his roommates as well. But yes, I do say we met at West Main. I also believe, Aaron King was one of the team members that helped open Commonwealth Sky Bar with Justin Butler.
That's right, yeah.
And Alex George. And we helped brand some elements for them, notably their brunch. So that's how I got to know Aaron, because I was like, this girl is a freaking rock star. She's on top of everything. And I believe, Aaron, that Rick worked back of the house at Commonwealth Sky Bar, if memory serves correct.
And it's just talking about memory lane here, right? It's just, and the more as you're speaking and the more I'm thinking how different things have changed. And we talked about this a couple of shows ago, how that the pavilion wasn't there. It was just a grass field, right, when they were doing Fridays After 5. And it was just a whole different vibe at that particular point in time. But we have really grown, positive or negative, depending on which perspective you want to take a look at it.
I don't say it's negative.
That's
right. Scott Morris met his better half on Tinder.
Tinder.
Yeah, Scott Morris. I love it, Scott
Good
Morris.
For him.
I love it, Scotty Morris. Scotty Morris, dude. Scotty Morris is it a swipe right when you're on Tinder? Is that right? He's a swipe right type of guy. Photos well, Jack, smart dude. Got some swipe whites.
And a Marine, so I'm sure his Marine uniform had a little bit to do with it. I don't know if probably wasn't in the Corps at that time.
I have to emphasize this. Aaron says, yes, Rick started working at Commonwealth when we opened the reserve. We had to bring him in for backup help in the kitchen. Then he started working there full time. I remember that, Aaron King. Such an awesome time. That I have to emphasize this. Jen Finazzo and the Finazzo family, Sal's Cafe Italia, they own that building on the downtown mall, Sal's Cafe Italia.
I remember that.
And they've done a phenomenal job of evolving the restaurant.
Absolutely.
Now you have that outdoor bar.
Sure.
Remember? Mm-hmm. Where Papa Joe Finazzo used to sit all the time. Now it's a bar you can sit at.
So walking down the downtown mall, in my brain back in the late 80s and the early 90s, it was Sal's. It was the hardware store. There was another Italian...
I'm going to tag Jen. Go ahead.
There was another Italian place underneath... you know where the building is that has the glass elevator to the right of the old hardware store? There was an Italian place down in there. Back in the late 80s and early 90s, there was a lot of boarded up stores on the downtown mall. Not a lot of people went there compared to what it is now. And I'm trying to think. There wasn't that much going down towards the Omni at that point. And I think the Omni was like, we used to go to Sunday brunches there. They had a really great brunch. I don't know if they still do it or not down on.
Dude, the Omni used to have a phenomenal brunch.
It's exactly.
This was pre-COVID, but they had like the lunch with the brunch with the omelet stations, the make your own waffle stations, like everything type of brunch. The only brunch one of the few brunches, I won't say the only, one of the few brunches that could challenge that was the Boar's Head brunch.
That's right.
And the Boar's Head brunch is starting to come back. Although it was still not at the dynamic that it was before COVID. Sal's Cafe Italia.
The Nook was the other one that popped in my mind.
Nook's a great brunch.
Yeah. No. Which was down there at that particular point in time.
Well, C&O gets a lot of props, but I think we should give some props to the Finazzo family at Sal's for bringing elevated dining to the downtown mall.
I love to stop by there in the summer, the little bar they have outside, sit there, have a cocktail, watch people walk by. It's just really become, hats off. Can you just imagine what the process went through in the late 70s politically?
To break the mall and take it from traffic to pedestrian only.
And somebody with a lot faster fingers can do this. I believe it was the first one in the country. If not, it was awfully close to the first one in the country. Can you imagine doing that today? Right? That would be a real hard sell, I think, today to actually shut that down and do that.
And if we
the forethought on that.
Go ahead.
The forethought on that in the mid 70s, to go ahead in the late 70s, because I think it was like 77-ish, somewhere around there when it actually was completed, but I may have that date wrong. The forward thinking on that, to be 30, 40 plus years down the road, that it actually became what somebody visualized way back then is a pretty cool thing, I think. Oh,
absolutely. And the mall has come a long ways. I remember, again, this is a story with the New Jersey fake ID here. This is first year of college, first semester of first year. We're going from grounds. We're looking for some mischief. Literally are told by our resident advisor in old dorms, Dabney 101 was the exact dorm room I was in, Bonnie Castle Circle. And our RA is literally saying, do not, first year especially.
How old were you back then?
18. Do not go past Orbitz. Was Orbitz 14th Street? Boylan Heights. Is Boylan Heights 14th Street, Judah?
It sounds about right.
Let me do a quick.
Don't go past the train trestle.
Literally our RA meeting was like, don't go past, it's 14th Street. Don't go past 14th Street.
So I'm thinking of all.
Right past 14th Street was Northern Exposure.
Yeah.
Remember Northern Exposure?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Okay,
sure.
so he's like, do not go past
And the old
Orbit.
St. Martin was around the corner?
St. Martin's catered toward more of a local element than a student element.
Correct, yeah.
So he's like, don't go past 14th Street.
Yeah.
Of course, we're 18. First thing we did was
Go past
let's
14th.
go past 14th Street, okay? Let's go past 14th Street. So we take the trolley, because there's no Uber.
Yeah, sure.
We take the trolley. We were feeling pretty good. I'll leave it at that. And we take the trolley from grounds to the downtown mall. And we do that to go to Miller's. Gosh, this was literally fall of 2000. Might have been just turned 19. And we go into Miller's to see Agents of Good Roots. Half the band of Agents of Good Roots was playing a set at Miller's. I think the cover charge was like $2, maybe $3.
Do you remember tracks?
Oh, I remember. I got a track story too. So we go into Miller's, $3 cover to see half of Agents of Good Roots play. And as we walk in, it was me, my buddy Connecticut Dave, my buddy Rhode Island Tom, and my buddy Shannon. And the four of us go into Miller's. We were feeling really good, walking to Miller's. And as soon as we got into Miller's, it was like the record scratching at prom. Everything stopped. Everyone looked at us. And we immediately realized, holy crap, what have we got ourselves into?
We're in a
So we walk into Miller's, and a gal, she had a nose ring, tattoos on her face, spiked hair, and was wearing a leather jacket, immediately stood up and screamed, "Students are not welcome here, get out." And Connecticut Dave, tall guy, 6'4", like 225, says, "No." And we walked to the back and sat at one of the tables and watched Agents of Good Roots and drank PBR with our fake New Jersey IDs. But I swear to God, half the bar wanted to jump us.
Sure.
And now you look at the downtown mall, the student population is a critical customer base for merchants on the mall.
You know,
True story.
it's 11:23, and I'm listening to all your stories, and I'm thinking, okay, what was I doing when I was 18? What was I doing?
You were in the military.
Yeah, I was 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 on that end of it. And unfortunately, some of the stories that I'm not so sure I can tell any longer, maybe some time has gone by, but you know, just listening to that and smiling and hearing your stories is wonderful. You know, it's cool what this town has become. Again, I'm just going to kind of bring it back to, you know, we've matured and we're going in a certain direction on that end of it. But you know, I explained Charlottesville and the region. It's kind of like this 18, 19-year-old kid, right? We're growing up. We're trying to go into bars that we can't go into and get kicked out. But we now have to start learning how to work together on a few things. And again, as I keep on beating this drum of housing for all, I think we need to kind of focus a little bit on that. But that's
Multiple folks are asking us questions on the feed here.
I just wish I could tell some of my stories. That's all.
Well, you
No.
can't do that.
No, I might end up in jail.
Yeah, you might end up in jail right there. Awful Arthurs. This is from Bill McChesney. Awful Arthurs used to be Inge's grocery store, a historic Charlottesville landmark. Booker T. Washington used to stay there when he came to speak at UVA because he could not stay in local hotels.
Wow.
Booker T. Washington, Inge, and Tonsler were friends through the Hampton Institute. And then Neil Williamson shares the story of Inge's grocery store. Inge's grocery store, there's a plaque commemorating Inge's grocery store next to Tavern and Grocery on West Main, the former Awful Arthurs, the former West Main. In 1890, formerly enslaved George P. Inge moved with his family from Danville, Virginia to Charlottesville in 1890. Mr. Inge, a graduate of the Hampton Institute, taught for 2 years at the Jefferson School on 7th Street. On July 1, 1891, he opened Inge's grocery store at 333 West Main Street, home of now Tavern and Grocery, which was nothing but a dirt road at the time, according to his son, Thomas Ferguson Inge. When in 1894 Jefferson School moved to a newly constructed building on 4th Street, George Inge turned down an offer to teach there for $28 a month. The salary was one of the highest offered at Jefferson, yet well below that which a white instructor would have received. Inge instead continued to operate Inge's Grocery Store, a lucrative enterprise that would remain so for almost a century. Inge's Grocery Store became a prominent Charlottesville business specializing in the sale of meat and fish. According to From Porch Swings to Patios, an oral history project of Charlottesville neighborhoods, Inge's store provided the only fresh fish in Charlottesville for some time, supplying the Claremont and Gleason hotels, the Dolly Madison Hotel, and the University Hospital, as well as fraternities and private homes. One more sentence and I'll get out of the way. As the Vinegar Hill area developed into an African-American business and residential district, Inge's Grocery Store stood at its center as an important commercial and social establishment. In 2004, the city of Charlottesville unveiled a historical marker honoring the significance of Inge's Grocery Store. The marker is located at the front of 333 West Main Building, now the Tavern and Grocery Restaurant. I love the viewers and listeners.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Thank you for the viewer for sending it in, and Jerry, thank you for taking the time to read that. Our history, the good, the bad, and the ugly, needs to be told and needs to be shared. So thank you very much.
You know what we should do? This is just spitballing on the fly. You're the executive producer of Real Talk. Okay, you seriously are the executive producer. You call the shots on Real Talk. We should do, and it's a real estate show.
I am so glad that we're doing this. Instead of talking about lack of inventory, this is exactly what I wanted to do today. It's just to have a conversation with my buddy Jerry.
We should do a historical show on Vinegar Hill.
We would have to. I know I would have to bring in folks that are way smarter than me.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
we bring in folks that know Vinegar Hill inside and out, and the unfortunate history of Vinegar Hill.
Well, and it's important to do that because
that would document the record.
It would document the record. It also
for Charlottesville.
It's also what repeats itself, history. So it'd be really important to understand that and understand the history of it. And so anybody out there that's listening that can recommend a couple of guests that we can bring in to do that, please drop them into the feed. I'll pick up the phone and call them. I'll make a few phone calls to some of the folks that I know in the space and see what we can do. But that would be a lot of fun and very helpful that we can go ahead and share that history. And maybe not just Vinegar Hill, because there's other neighborhoods that there's some history that we need to share on that. The 10th and Page, for instance, neighborhood, there's history there that folks need to hear.
The Vinegar Hill story, and I encourage anybody to get on Google right now and Google Vinegar Hill, Charlottesville, VA. And when you do, there's going to be a Wikipedia link atop of your search. And read that history. And I'll read the first paragraph from Wikipedia. Vinegar Hill was one of the earliest neighborhoods in Charlottesville, Virginia. Originally a predominantly Irish neighborhood located near downtown, it was bordered by West Main Street to the south, Preston Avenue to the north, and 4th Street to the west. When it was first populated by African-American families in the early 19th century, it was called Random Row. Mm-hmm. George Toole, a local Irish-American resident, began calling it Vinegar Hill to memorialize the Battle of Vinegar Hill. It was incorporated into the city in 1835. Vinegar Hill is remembered now for the city of Charlottesville's invasive urban renewal project that began in 1964 that razed the majority black neighborhood. Razed means destroyed.
Exactly right.
That would be an amazing story.
Yeah, I mean, I'm loving the show, man. I knew a little bit of this on the periphery, but reading and listening and taking notes from it, I think we can bring folks in and really talk about the history of it, not only from a history of the last 35 years, but the history that went long before that. Bill,
before the Omni Hotel, the mall was still a street from 1st Street West. The merchants, led by the owner of the Young Men's Shop, were opposed to the downtown mall idea. The Young Men's Shop was on the corner of 2nd Street Southwest and West Main.
There's another show. The
Evolution of the mall.
The evolution of the downtown mall.
Mitch Van Uries gets a lot of credit for the downtown mall's evolution. And I believe David Toscano was on council at that time. And he is credited, because Toscano has come on some of the shows I've done, Mitch Van Uries for being an architect or visionary of the downtown mall.
Yeah, so, but...
And there are not many in Charlotte, and many in the country.
Well, that's
pedestrian-only malls.
And that's kind of what I was leading to on how, we think a little bit about Charlottesville and the region around that. A lot of firsts, right? So, downtown mall, I don't know if it's the first, but it's awfully close to one of the firsts. The whole brewery vineyard field business is really kind of started, in my opinion, around here. It grew around here, and it moved in. Folks like Mr. King was instrumental in trying to get that business to grow. The university, of course, is the heartbeat of all this. If university wasn't here, we've had this conversation before, we probably wouldn't be sitting here with these microphones and cameras in front of us on this. But look, at the end of the day, this has really matured into a wonderful place. It's why we're top 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 historically, constantly, for places to live, culture, wine. This is just, it's why people want to come here.
I got a trivia question for you.
Oh, thank you.
Can you name the first brewery in the city of Charlottesville's history?
Oh, that's probably a loaded question. I was going to say South Street, but I don't think that's it. From my head, it's Star Hill, maybe?
South Street Brewery, the first brewery in the Charlottesville city history.
I got that right.
South Street Brewery, founded months before Star Hill Brewery on West Main.
So it's awfully close. Right? What year was South Street founded?
1998.
Yeah, okay.
1998. And Star Hill Brewery was months thereafter, in early 1999, I believe. Yep, 1999.
I mean, it's just, now we've got code. We've got the data center coming up at a UVA. We've got what's the other building that co-construct is in? What's the name of that building?
You're talking on one by ACAC?
Correct. No, the one over.
Oh, the Oliver Kutner building?
I can't remember the name of the building.
Is that the 323?
I believe you're right on that end.
Across from Friendship Court.
Exactly right. Just off the top, and then so we got the Apex building. So
by ACAC.
So there's 3 buildings in there that are going to house hundreds, if per building.
Probably thousands when you
per
include
building.
them all.
Per building for sure, hundreds and hundreds per building. So now we're maturing. We're becoming this little tech town, for lack of a better term. Is this good? Is it bad? But we've been having an hour and some odd minute conversation about the history of this region and how much we love it. And, there's one thing I know from being on this earth nearly 60 years, change happens. And so, we can help guide it, right? That's a good thing, but stuff's going to change.
Kevin Higgins says, a lot of people don't know this, but Kegler's used to be a brewery. It used to brew its own beer.
Keglers?
Yeah.
Like in the bowling alley,
yeah.
Keglers.
I
Really?
did know that.
I did
At
not
one
know
time,
that.
Keglers had a brewery set up in the bowling alley. He's exactly right. I do remember that. In
So
fact,
hence the name Keglers. That makes sense.
and one of my biggest beefs was with Keglers. Kevin Higgins, you may remember this. Aaron King, you may remember this. When I used to go bowling, again, this happens to be with that fake New Jersey ID. When we used to go bowling at Keglers, we would get pitchers of beer. And one of the things that frustrated us about the pitchers of beer at Keglers is the pitchers would be served with this big cone in the middle of the pitcher that was this essentially a frozen ice block in the pitcher. But what we as broke college students and broke 20-somethings hated about that frozen cone in the center of the pitcher
Put less beer in it.
It took volume of beer out of the pitcher.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so it wasn't a legit full pitcher. It was freezing cold.
It was freezing cold.
But it wasn't legit full volume.
So what's cheaper, beer or ice?
Depends on how good the beer is.
So you brought up your fake ID a couple of times.
I say it all the time.
I have to tell you the story that
say it all the time.
It was at Foods of All Nations. I was picking
Not
up.
the only one who had a fake ID.
Not the only one that had a fake ID, but so I was their little wine shop over there has some Austrian wines, and I wanted to pick up some wine for Yona for the weekend, a particular Austrian wine that she likes on that end of it. So I was checking out. It was like 9:30 in the morning, and the young lady wasn't paying attention to me, didn't really look up, and she goes, I need to see your ID, right? So I pull out the ID, and I said, geez, I hope this works. I paid a lot of money for this fake ID. And she looks up at me and she goes, really? And I just laughed and she laughed and we moved on. Anyway, it was an ID story.
I love it. I absolutely love it. So multiple folks are asking for the Vinegar Hill story.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm in.
Other folks are asking on Twitter for the downtown mall story.
Okay. I like it.
So those are two that are real estate based that I think would document or paper the trail.
Thank you so much, folks, for chiming in, because what as the executive producer on this stuff,
suggestions.
I love suggestions. We've been doing this for 3 years now, and any suggestions, any ideas, I'd love to do it.
Kevin Higgins has for you a suggestion. Mr. Allen, who owned H&M Shoes, and what I believe is now the Hamilton's restaurant building, would be a great topic for a future show. What an inspiration that man was. That's from Kevin Higgins, who's a phenomenal contributor to this network and content across the board. So those are three great show ideas.
I mean,
Vinegar Hill could be a multi-part series.
Well, I'm literally taking notes. I think Downtown Mall is a multi-story.
Yeah.
I think Vinegar Hill is on that stuff. So folks, please be patient. This takes some time to put together on the guests, but
we could do also, as an idea, history of iconic landmarks. And it's a real estate show. History of iconic buildings in the city of Charlottesville.
Well,
That's a great idea.
I was just thinking about H&M shoes. That's where when I first came here, we used to buy our shoes there.
And what we would do here, and look, I'll take it a step further. What we would do with this show.
But what's changed, right?
Well, what we could do with this show is, because this is what V&V Brands specializes in, is we would SEO the show, search engine optimize the shows strategically and appropriately. So when people Google the search or search the history of these buildings, these shows would show up atop the search ranking. So the shows that we do would be the paper trail or the historical documentation of these historical buildings. And Keith Smith and Real Talk would forever be the authors of these historical documentations. So in a lot of ways, each show would be documentaries of Charlottesville's history.
Ooh.
And that is what we call, what? What do we call that?
Listening to Jerry. Isn't that what that's called? Smith, listen to Jerry. Okay. It's just awesome what we're doing here. So I'm making notes because I've got all kinds of notes on here. I got Vinegar Hill, Downtown Mall, historical buildings.
You would be the...
Well, then you do your magic. I just need to get
documentarian, we would be, of record for historical landmarks in Charlottesville, Virginia.
I'm in it.
And as those landmarks get more gentrified or continue to evolve,
things change, right?
The history gets lost.
Well, that's the point I was trying to make. It, I have forgotten.
Steve Harvey via text message, digital historical records. That's exactly right. It would be digital historical records.
I have forgotten about H&M shoes until this show. And that's where I used to get my shoes.
Commonwealth Sky Bar, Aaron King's watching the program. Now Passiflora used to be A&N.
That's right. I remember that, actually.
On the downtown mall.
I remember that. Holy schmoly. Yeah, and Woolworths used to be CBS. Come on, Smith. You could do the CVS's, right? Used to be the Woolworths. Used to actually have like the real soda That's another place to sit down and eat on the downtown mall that I forgot about back in those days. You would walk in, and I used to take, when Yaz was a little kid, we used to go in there. We used to get an ice cream soda and all that kind of great stuff, and Woolworths. And Woolworths is not around any longer. It's just, wow, I'm feeling old.
No, but you know what we could do? We could take, dude, this is...
You're excited, I can tell.
I mean, this is a great idea here. We could take...
It's a great idea.
It is a great idea. It is great. It's coming on the fly, too.
Yeah.
We could take landmarks around
Mrs.
the
Miller,
city.
I appreciate you very much.
We could take landmarks across the city and connect them like we're connecting the dots.
Yeah, sure.
And spend an episode on this landmark,
Sure.
offering a 60 to 90 minute historical perspective that forever lives on the internet, on every social platform, and then connect the dot to the next one.
Kind of like a Da Vinci Code.
And then to the next one.
Yeah, sure.
And then to the next one.
Yeah, I'm in. You know me well enough to know it doesn't take much to sell me on something, so I'm in. Let's do it. But to do this justice and honor, this is going to take some time to put together.
Now on Facebook message with Kevin Higgins. Who's the Eric you're connecting us with? So Kevin Higgins has done a Facebook chain message with me and you and Eric. Okay. I'm going to see who this Eric is in the group. It is Eric Allen. Okay. Oh. He says, "Hey Eric, I'm connecting you with Jerry Miller and Keith Smith. They own and produce an online show in Charlottesville. I loved your dad and suggested he be discussed on a future show with you in the present. Love you, buddy. Good luck and have fun. H&M Shoes has a story. It's got to be told."
Yep.
That's amazing. Kevin, thank you.
Well, talk about what wasn't here.
And multiple viewers are saying CVS was standard drugstore, not Woolworths.
Where was Woolworths? There was a Woolworths there.
Where was Woolworth then, viewers and listeners? But they're saying it was standard drugstore.
Okay. I know there was a Woolworths at one point on the downtown mall. I can't remember when, but I knew there was. So maybe I'm having a senior moment and thought it was Woolworths and it actually was standard. It could have been. But I remember there was a Woolworths in Charlottesville at one point in time. Now I got to check it.
Where was the Woolworth? Put it in the feed. Somebody help us. Where was the Woolworth? That would be a great question or a great answer to help us with. Bill, can you help us with some perspective? Neil, can you help us with this perspective? Where was the Woolworth?
Yeah.
No, seriously, they will tell us. Are you getting texts over there?
I'm getting a text from Neil about your New Jersey fake ID. Got a bit of a workout.
Woolworth was, mine, dude, New Jersey fake ID was used everywhere in multiple cities and jurisdictions in multiple states.
There you go.
And I reference it many a time. Woolworth was on the corner of First Street. Bill just put it on the feed.
First Street.
It was further down than where Standard Drugstore was located at the CVS.
But it was on the mall, though. The cross street was the first
corner of First Street.
And what was
I would imagine that's the mall, right? That's the mall right there, right, Bill?
Yeah, I remember it.
I get the cross streets confused. Was Logan Wells Claylow says, was Woolworths located where Caspari is now? Caspari is that expensive Italian stationery store. Ludwig Kutner, the landlord of Caspari.
Oh, now I'm really having a struggle here.
That would make sense because that's where Bill is saying is on First Street. Isn't First Street the crossing that goes by Downtown Grill?
So 4th is Heather Heiler Way.
Yeah.
Right.
So First has got to be that crossing by the Omni. Is that right?
Got it.
You know what I'm talking about? The crossing by the movie theater?
No,
that goes in the opposite direction of Heather Heiler Way.
You're talking about where Barbadero is opening up its new restaurant. Thank you.
Yeah.
Its new restaurant.
Wilson Ritchie bought that building.
Yeah, correct. And man.
So they're saying, Logan, the viewers and listeners are so smart. Logan is saying it was on where Caspari is now. And Bill is saying it was on the corner of First Street. So those are the same spots, aren't they?
Yeah, but First in what, right? So it's
First in the mall.
First in Main.
First in Main. Yeah.
So could it have been where the new movie theater is? Where Violet Crumb?
Bill, Logan.
Which, by the way,
anyone offer some help us out here.
I'm literally walking down the downtown mall in 1980s.
Todd Daggett watching the program.
87,
Do you know Todd? It's on your Facebook page, so you know him.
I'm sure I do.
Yeah, he says it was where Kaspari is now. So multiple people are saying it was where Gwendolyn from Larry Lamb, Main Street. Dude, smart listeners. Gwendolyn is making us better from Holland. So Larry Lamb says First and Main.
So Gwendolyn, what time is it there?
Todd Daggett says it's where Kaspari is now. Gwendolyn, what time is it in Holland right now?
Well, I think it's at least 5 hours, so it's either 5 or 6 o'clock at night.
She says Woolworths first opened downtown in 1924 on Main Street, and in 1965 it expanded and relocated 2 blocks away to 100 West Main Street, currently home to specialty gifts and home accessory shop Kaspari.
Yeah, got it. Yeah.
Kaspari. And it's 5:45 p.m. in Holland right now.
Yeah, so it's 5:45.
She's watching at 5:45 p.m.
Yep.
So, dude, I just learned something.
You should have. I hope.
Did you have a cocktail in your hand?
I hope she's having a cocktail.
I hope you're having a cocktail, Glenn.
Or something else in Holland, but anyway, having something at that point. Yeah. Okay. I knew I was close, but yeah.
Downtown Athletic was part of the movie theater, I believe. Logan Wells Claylo watching the program.
Downtown Athletic, yeah.
Dude.
So I tell you what, we went to Yona and I went to go see a movie on Saturday night. We're huge movie folks, and we went to go see the new Death on the Nile, which if anybody is into that type of, it's an excellent movie, well done. It's kind of like the Titanic. Everybody knows how it ends, but it's how they get there, which is pretty unique on it. But and I'm just quoting something that you posted out on that. So next to Kristen's Pizza, they opened up a new wine bar.
Yeah.
So we wrapped up.
Crush Pat's.
We opened the movie,
which is owned by the owners of Vincent and Company, Vincent and Company owned Bizou.
Which is one of my favorite places.
They own Bang.
So what was Bizou before it was Bizou?
The Metropolitan.
There you go. And where did Metropolitan go after that?
Tell me.
It shortly opened next to Monoloco. Remember Monoloco?
Oh yeah.
So right next to Monoloco, it was a Metropolitan, and Metropolitan. That was another restaurant.
Yeah, we should have, when we talked Sino and Sal's, we should have mentioned the Metropolitan.
Absolutely.
And Fellini's. But one of the reasons I love Bijou and the former Metropolitan and the Bijou, that space, it is very, 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 very back home, city kind of thing. You walk past you walk past the kitchen in it, and it's just, that's one of my favorite places to go eat. Bill says Rose's was where York Place used to be.
That's right. Wow.
Charlie Lewis family owns York Place.
So what used to be...
Ray Cadell says, just left the 7-Eleven. We'll mention this on air here in a second. Just left the 7-Eleven at Woodbrook. 2 people sitting on stalls in front of gambling machines, playing the machines, and scratching off tickets at the same time. I have no idea, of course, what their financial status is, but they didn't spend a lot of it on wardrobe. Thank you for that update, Ray.
Thank you, Ray, for that update.
Appreciate that.
So what, Mudhouse, what used to be in Mudhouse before it was Mudhouse? And Mudhouse has been around, oh God.
Dude, if we do this, it's literally running through my mind here. If we do these digital documentaries on landmarks in the city of Charlottesville, they will live in perpetuity online, and then the next generation of Keith Smiths and Jerry Millers will reference these digital documentaries when orating the history of Charlottesville, Virginia.
As you're speaking, as you're doing this, I'm a huge TCM fan, Turner Classic Music.
This would be the Turner Classic Movies of Charlottesville.
And I watched, as you're speaking and thinking about the history and all this stuff, I watched the original Planet of the Apes the other day with Charlton Heston in it, and it was just, as you're talking about doing this digital history and all this kind of great stuff, it was really cool to watch it because it was made in '68 on that end of it, and you see how the language and the interaction was going on. It was very much so what was going on in the country in the late '60s on that end of it, on that stuff. And this is exactly what this could be. This is a permanent digital history. I'm excited. We're going to have to bring a historian in. We're going to have to bring somebody that is really good at this stuff so we can document it and have it out there forever.
It would be amazing.
I'm
It
in.
would absolutely amazing.
I'm in.
We came to this show with zero plan except following your lead, Vanessa Parkhill.
Literally, that was it.
We had no plan for this show except to follow your lead. Vanessa Parkhill, the Queen of Earlysville, watching. Holly Ann watching the program. My dad, Danny Roach, worked for H&M shoe store in Charlottesville starting in high school. Also, he managed the one in Blacksburg. I have pictures of him modeling shoes for them on the downtown mall. Holly Ann, can you send me? Dude, this show is so dynamic.
Did you actually ever as a kid go through a shoe store and remember that whole process?
Yeah.
It was, it was.
Well, that's what makes Ragged Mountain so good.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
because they have people that check your gait and your arch and have you walk in the shoe before you leave.
You know, they're unbelievable. As you know, this is their 40th year being in Charlottesville.
Yeah.
And I actually talked to Mark on Saturday after all the runners went, and we were chatting, and you know, business is great. You know, he's just celebrating his 40th year. So if you're in, you know, walking, running, or whatever, or just want to say hi, put a mask on, go in there and say hi. And if you want to talk about getting a little bit of history for the last 40 years of the downtown, of the corner, talk to Mark. He'll talk your ear off. Trust me. It's a New York, Jersey thing. He'll just keep on talking. But you know, if you're in the market, go get that. And it was funny because Yona just got a new pair of shoes on that end of it. And look, you could probably dollar for dollar, it's almost the same price you could go to Zappos or wherever the heck you buy shoes these days, but you will never get the personal attention.
Yeah.
It's just like what we talk about, bring it back to real estate. That's why this phone I'm holding in my hand is never going to really replace what we do for a living to help people get in their homes and meet their needs on that end of it. It's great to do a little research on a shoe, but when you sit down there and you have somebody of the caliber of Mark, actually spending,
and his kids.
And exactly right. Spending time with you, their most precious commodity, that's a win.
Can you, Holly Ann, who's watching on one of the 15 Facebook pages this show is streaming upon, can you send Holly Ann a direct message to Keith and I so we can coordinate perhaps with someone that you may know about the history of H&M shoe store in the downtown mall? Her dad, Danny Roach, worked for H&M shoe store in Charlottesville in high school. I would love to spotlight this history on this program.
You know the other thing, the other thing that you don't see anymore in town, card stores, Hallmark stores, right? If you want to go and buy something for today's Valentine's Day, right? Where do you get? It used to be you could go to there used to be a Hallmark store, if I'm not mistaken.
There was a Hallmark on the downtown mall.
It
was where the Bank of America ATM is now.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And that's what you would do is you would go into the Hallmark store and
Lloyd's Hallmark.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And you would go ahead and, you know, get your birthday cards. You know, where do you do that now, right?
Larry Lamb says Gleason's Bakery was my favorite place across from H&M Shoes. Gleason's Bakery moved to the building next to ACAC downtown because I used to get bakery items from Gleason's on that building. That is now, I believe, a finance firm.
So do you remember when Gleason's was where ACAC and all that stuff? Gleason's was in the down.
That's what I just said.
That was, I'm talking about where you could go and buy.
It was a hardware store.
Pitchforks, you can buy
hardware
hay, you can buy all that stuff. That was all down in that particular area. It was.
Larry is saying on your respective Facebook page, Larry Lamb, I'm sending you a friend request now. Please accept it, sir. He says, Gleason's Bakery was my favorite place across from H&M Shoes on the downtown mall. And Todd Daggett, I'm sending you a Facebook friend request as well. So this is amazing.
Wow. Haven't thought about all that stuff in forever. Right? Wow.
The smell would drive you was intoxicating, Bill said.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's hard for me to walk past Marie Beth these days without making a right-hand turn or left-hand turn.
Love Marie Beth.
And add to my waistline.
You're getting trimmer.
Nah, thank you for lying to me, but no.
This was a great show.
It was a great show.
One of our best ones.
Oh my God.
I know.
Sorry.
No problem. It was thoroughly our pleasure.
It is 5 to 12.
It is 5 to 12.
Holy schmoly.
Any closing thoughts? Digital documentaries.
I got notes. I got copious notes. copious notes. We will do this. We won't have time to brainchild it after.
Oh, dude, Neil Williamson on my Twitter page. I'll retweet this right now. Woolworths and Roses downtown Charlottesville, 1976. These two discount stores were mainstays in downtown Charlottesville. Roses and Woolworth. If you want to see what they look like in 1976, my Twitter page, Jerry Miller Now, is the handle. I will retweet it as we speak.
Roses moved to Pantops.
Roses, and it's still there.
It's still there. And that's something to talk a little bit about, how these different neighborhoods have matured or changed. And, I remember, I don't know, you probably weren't in town when that happened, but I remember when they replaced the bridge, the free bridge, when it was just a one lane one way and a one lane the other way. I remember when they built that, just to get traffic to flowing in and out.
We'll close with this. Keith Smith, you see what he's all about. He is all about Charlottesville, Albemarle County, Central Virginia. His firm is YES Realty Partners, YES Realty Partners. Find them online, yesrealtypartners.com, and trust them with the buying and selling of your home, guys. He is, and Yona, as honorable as they come. On the I Love CVille show, which is in 33 minutes, we will have Lloyd Snook, the mayor of Charlottesville, Virginia, to talk about budgetary constraints and as they apply to school reconfiguration, notably Buford and Walker. $75 to $100 million needed for reconfiguration. And if the project is green-lighted, the capital improvement project budget will be frozen for 10 years.
Yeah.
And a 10-cent real estate tax rate increase will be needed to fund school reconfiguration.
So talk about things that are new that we weren't around some time ago. It's literally what you're doing here today, what we're doing today, what you do on the show, on your show, on the network every day.
We document the trail.
You document it, but you have the opportunity for somebody like Lloyd Snook to sit down, and I can assure you, your fingers are going to be flying during that show with questions and back and forth. So I have a 12:30, but I'm going to rewatch it this evening because I really, really want to see what Lloyd has to say.
Thank you. Kevin Higgins says, remembering our history, and this is a perfect way to close the show. Kevin Higgins, remembering our history will dictate our future. This city is on the rebound and will be stronger than ever. I don't know much, but I know that.
So
bravo, Kevin.
It's Valentine's Day. Remembering our history is a way of showing love.
Amen. Amen. This is Real Talk, guys, presented by YES Realty Partners and the I Love CVille Network. We hope you enjoyed this show as much as we did hosting the show. We will see you in 20 and 30 minutes, guys, with Lloyd Snook. Take care.
Thank you, everybody.